People are different. Few observations could be more banal, yet serious attention to it is one of Hinduism's distinctive features. With respect to the ways they can best contribute to society and develop their own potentialities, people fall into four groups. The first group India called Brahmins, reflective with a passion to understand and a keen intuitive grasp of the values that matter most in human life. These are civilization's intellectual and spiritual leaders. The second group, the Kshatriyas, are born administrators, with a genius for orchestrating people and projects in ways that make the most of available human talent. Others find their vocation as producers. They are artisans and farmers, skillful in creating the material things on which life depends. These are the Vaishyas. Finally, Shudras can be characterized as followers or servants. Their attention spans are relatively short, which makes them unwilling to sacrifice a great deal in the way of present gains for the sake of future rewards. Under supervision, however, they are capable of hard work and devoted service. Such people are better off, and actually happier, working for others than being on their own. Inequalities between the castes themselves aimed for due compensation for services rendered. The well-being of society requires that some people assume, at the cost of considerable self-sacrifice, responsibilities far beyond average. The wage earner who checks out at 5 o'clock is through for the day. The employer must take home the ever-present insecurities of the entrepreneur, and often homework as well. The question is partly whether employers would be willing to shoulder their responsibilities without added compensation, but also whether it would be just to ask them to do so. In precise reverse of the European doctrine that the king could do no wrong, the orthodox Hindu view came very near to holding that the Shudras, the lowest caste, could do no wrong, its members being regarded as children from whom not much should be expected. This is how the Hindu classical legal doctrine stated that, for the same offense, the punishment of the Vaishya should be twice as that of the Shudras, that of the Kshatriya twice as heavy again, and that of the Brahmin twice or even 4 times as heavy. If society is to be not only complex but also good, if it is to be wise and inspired as well as efficient, there must be above the administrators, in esteem but not in pay, for one of the defining marks of this class must lie in its indifference to wealth and power, a 4th class. Such people are rightly called seers in the literal sense of this word, for they are the eyes of the community. As the head rests on the body, so the eyes are placed at the top of the head. Needing leisure for unhurried reflection, the seer must be protected from over-involvement in the day-to-day exigencies that clutter and cloud the mind. India considered Plato's dream of the philosopher king unrealistic, and it is true that when Brahmins assumed social power, they became corrupt. Like a compass needle, guarded at a May point, the Brahmin is to ascertain and then indicate the true north of life's meaning and purpose, charting the way to civilization's advance. Not only do individuals differ from one another, each individual moves through different stages, each of which calls for its own appropriate conduct. As each day passes from morning through noon and afternoon into evening, so every life likewise passes through 4 phases, each possessing distinct aptitudes. The first stage India marked off as that of the student. Traditionally, this stage began out of the rite of initiation and lasted for 12 years, during which the student typically lived in the home of the teacher, rendering service for instruction received. The successful student was not to emerge a walking encyclopedia. Habits were to be cultivated, character acquired, for India had little interest in knowledge for knowledge's sake. The second stage, beginning with marriage, was that of the householder. Here, during life's noon, with physical powers at their zenith, interests and energies naturally turn outward. There are 3 fronts on which they can play with satisfaction: family, vocation, and the community to which one belongs. This is the time for satisfying the first 3 human wants: pleasure through marriage and family, success through vocation, and duty through civic participation. Whether life has a future beyond middle age depends, in fact, on what the values of life really are. If they are supremely those of body and sense, we may as well resign ourselves to the fact that life after youth is downhill. But if vision and self-understanding carry rewards equal to or surpassing these others, old age has its own opportunities, and we can come to happiness at a time when the rivers of our lives flow gently. This is the stage of retirement. Thus far, society has required the individual to specialize. There has been little time to read, to think, to ponder life's meaning without interruption. But must the human spirit be indentured to society forever? Retirement looks beyond the stars, not to the village streets. It is the time for working out a philosophy, and then working that philosophy into a way of life. A time for transcending the senses to find, and dwell with, the reality that underlies this natural world. Beyond retirement, the final stage wherein the goal is actually reached is the state of sannyasin, defined by the Bhagavad Gita as one who neither hates nor loves anything. The pilgrim is now free to return to the world, for time and place have lost their hold. Taking no thought of the future, and looking with indifference upon the present, read the Hindu texts. The sannyasin lives identified with the eternal self, and beholds nothing else. He no more cares whether his body falls or remains, for the faculties of his mind are now at rest in the holy power, the essence of bliss.